And welcome to another edition of Hoops Hitting Gems podcast. I'm your host, David Jones. Want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, as usual, on a Sunday night. Little brisk Sunday night this past weekend here in Atlanta. For some of these southern folks that aren't used to the snow, they got a little touch of it. We got, I think it was like 4.5 inches. So, and that's just in Georgia's mind, this is a state of emergency. For us folks from up north, it's another day in a walk in the park. But hey, we're all here tonight. You know, for you people that got a day off on Friday, congratulations. But you'll be back hustling tomorrow because most of it's gone for the most part. This is episode number 98. We're inching closer to 100. Tonight's no different. Great friend of the show. Man, I've known him, my gosh, man, it's 4 or 5 years now. We met at Jerry Mullins JUCO Jamboree. And you know, I tell people, just like for the kids, you never know who's watching. He saw me. I didn't see him. And you know, he reached out to me on Twitter, and that's how we connected. And I'm looking around like, how did he see me? And you know, we developed a great relationship, and people need to understand, always put your best foot forward because you never know who's watching. And you know, he liked what we saw, and we got to talking, and one thing led to another, and here we are, some 4 years later, and another stop later for Coach Bailey. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, as usual, man. You know, you guys down there in South Alabama. You know, I was fortunate enough to see you guys play Georgia State last week, and man, you guys are looking good. A lot of people don't know about South Alabama. You guys are 12-5 doing your thing, and I'm like when I got on the floor to talk to you, I'm like, hey man, y'all look pretty good. I mean, you know, like last year was a transitional year. You know, you guys were, you know, figuring out with roster changes and stuff, but now you all got that thing rolling. So people need to be on notice. Like, you better watch South Alabama this year in the Sun Belt Conference. They may be making some noise come March Madness. And what's your thoughts on that?
Again, thanks for having me. It's been a good year so far. We've enjoyed the competition, really got a good group of guys. They're working hard, competing every day. And, you know, every season is a new opportunity to show who you are. And we wanted to get back to our winning ways and winning culture here at South Alabama.
Man, I want to jump right into this, man, because I thought it's awesome that one of your best players is from right there in Mobile, Barry Dunning, man. That's the first thing when I got on the floor to talk to you. I was like, man, who's that? I was like, he can play. And to see that he's a local product, that's always a good look for the university when you have a local product playing well like that.
Facts. I think Barry is very talented. I think he's enjoying coming back playing in front of the hometown and the community. I think he feels welcome, and he's been doing a fantastic job this year for us.
I couldn't agree. He had a great game against Georgia State where he had, if I'm not mistaken, like 22 points, did very well. And, you know, the way you guys set it up, when you got him in that isolation, he's deadly. That isolation, I was like, oh, they need to run a double team to shut him down. But again, he's one of those guys. He has high major talent, but a lot of times, sometimes they get overlooked, you know. And I like to always say details. When you see a guy like that, the difference between him being a high major sometimes is very small. And a lot of people don't understand that. When you start looking at mid majors and high majors, of course, it's the expectation is a high major is NBA ready. And that's not always the case, because we have mid majors and some low mid majors and some D2 guys that end up being NBA ready in 3 or 4 years. And the first words out of your mouth when I asked about him, you're like, hey, he's developing into something special. Hence the big word, developing into something special. So he might not have been where he's at right now, but man, listen, he's looking good. He's looking real good.
I'll just say this. We're excited to have him, number one. He was a top 100 kid in the country. So I think for some kids, they need the opportunity to play right away. He kind of went into a situation that there was a log jam and
Mhm.
playing with other guys that end up getting drafted. I think it 3 or 4 guys when he committed to Arkansas his freshman year. He that played in front of him, so he had to just kind of wait his turn and wait his time. And this year he's starting to flourish by getting a chance to play through mistakes, getting a chance to just compete every night, and it's made him a better player and a better person.
So basically, what you're telling me, he's found a good fit for him, is what
Fantastic
you're telling
fit
me.
for him.
But and I'm glad you're bringing this up without even us jumping to topics. How important is it for these kids? A lot of times, you know, no disrespect to the high school or the AAU coaches that sell high, and a lot of times they miss out or they end up in the portal being a rebound because, like you said, they got 2 or 3 kids in front of them, very talented, and it's no disrespect to him because he obviously can play, but you just said it. He's playing through his mistakes and he's showing how talented he is, but he might not have seen that floor to his junior year at Arkansas because of that log jam, like you said.
Well, I also think guys get better every year, learning to practice. It's a transition for any kid, regardless what level you go to when you're coming from high school to
Mhm.
college. Just the physicality. So I think he's worked on his body in the weight room. I think the speed of the game slows down for most players. The more they get to practice, the more they get a chance to compete in live games. And I think that was the case with Barry. So he's been putting in a lot of time in the weight room, a lot of time in the film room, a lot of extra time on the court to try to be the best possible player he can become. And right now, he's seeing some of the fruits of his labor.
it, you just hit something, and I don't care if it's high major, mid major, low major, D2, NAI. He's putting that work in the weight room because we both know that transition from high school to college is major. And most of these guys are faster, stronger, older. They have a better grasp, because they've been in the system, so they know the system. So, like you said, these guys that are coming in, especially high school kids, JUCO as well, you're learning on the fly.
Mhm.
And it's about who processes that information the fastest that's going to be able to see the floor. You know what I mean?
True, true, true. Like I said, it's an adjustment period for all kids, and not everybody needs to go to the highest bidder per se. I think fit is really, really important socially, on the court, education wise, and then you need to be in the environment where you can be nurtured and ready to go and perform. So, with the transfer portal and today's recruiting, I think it makes it that much harder for kids to make the correct decision initially.
Mm-hmm. And, and let's just, it's the elephant in the room as well. Some of the money that's being thrown at some of these kids clouds their judgment as well. You
Hmm.
know, if you're talking, there's some schools that are well off. We understand that, but you get there, you received whatever, but it's not a fit and you're still not happy, you're not developing, but you got this quote unquote check. And is it really the right school for you educationally? Because that's one thing we just do not talk about. And I have to give South Alabama credit. I mean, they have a nice school down there, a nice educational system down there at South Alabama. And that's no knock to any other school in the conference or in the NCAA, but they do a good job of the mixture of athletics with the student athletes. So when you graduate, that paper is actually going to mean something.
True, true, true. And we're big on promoting the educational experience and opportunity for guys. Coach Riley's big on getting guys graduated. So I think he has 100% graduation rate, if I'm not mistaken, that guys that can come and play for him, if they walk away with a degree, which I think it sets them up for life later on. And then your pro aspirations, athletically, and your achievement and body of work allows you to speak for yourself and gets you to open up certain doors and opportunities for you.
Now, is Coach Riley big on his players having the opportunity to come back to be GAs?
Some guys have done it. Right now, our current GA is a former player. He was actually a former walk-on, Adam
Okay.
Sizemore, and he's done a great job for us so far. And again, coach believes in taking care of his own.
What's a what's a typical day at South Alabama for a student athlete? Of course, they have to go to class, they have to go to practice. Is it set up where they have to go to study hall as well, or is that GPA based? How does that work there?
Usually the morning starts off in the weight room on a typical day. So we'll come in and we lift in groups of weights. And then in between that, they'll have their time to go to their classes because some people have in-person classes, some people have online classes.
Mhm.
Then usually we'll practice. And then after practice, we kind of have tutorials set up in the afternoon or evening. And guys have to do about 8 to 10 hours a week. So again, we try to make sure that they have tutors available. We have an academic service center for them, and we kind of break it in and chart all their study hall hours to make sure that they are fulfilling their educational obligations.
Okay. And so let me ask this. So, in the midst of all that, do they also have like individual development sessions as well on top of
Well,
practice?
I would just say we're talking in season. Our gym is open 24 hours a day for those guys. So again, they have opportunity to come shoot in the morning if they have night classes or vice versa.
Mhm.
Once you finish your allotted hours of study hall, the gym's always open for those guys to get extra shots up. But in terms of like the weight training and our practice time and schedules, we typically kind of have that slotted out for them weekly, so they know what time those are. And then again, if they need to get anything extra, we try to make sure that we have the personnel necessary to accommodate them.
Okay. Okay. And from a academic standpoint, I always like to ask this as well. Um, to come to South Alabama, what are you guys looking for GPA wise? We know the minimums are 2.3, but does South Alabama have a preference from a GPA of what they're looking for student athletes?
I mean, we want guys that can be good students in the classroom. I can't just say if a kid has to have a 3.5 or anything like that, but we want guys that are serious about going to class. We want guys that are serious about progressing toward a degree. And I can just tell you the bulk of our students out of high school probably were 3.0-ish. If you're a JUCO transfer, of course, you got to graduate and meet the necessary requirements. But again, we have guys that are motivated. We've taken grad transfers, so of course, guys come in with a degree already, and some guys are working toward a master's and have that goal. We got a couple guys that want to pursue a second undergrad degree. So again, it's just really dependent upon the player, but we try to do a great job of screening them academically with the transcripts. That's one of the initial early determined factors that we utilize for our criteria when recruiting happens.
Let me ask this, and this was something you pointed out to me, and it really blew me away as well. Like, yes, you guys are like every other program. Like, yes, you do entertain the portal, but what blew me away is you guys took some D2 guys out the portal.
hmm I would tell you, I think we kind of found a niche, and we try to leave no rock unturned.
Hmm.
So we'll check Division 2, one, two. So the last 3 years, we've had a Division 2 guy on our roster. Most of them come in as a grad transfer, of course, and
Yes.
they come in wanting to prove themselves that they belong at the Division 1 level. Again, we've scouted them, and we like and think they fit our style of play. And so those guys have been able to come in over the past couple years and make an immediate impact and contribution to our program.
Would you say that's the trend now? I mean, whether it's D2 or low D1 or mid major, you feel that's the trend now? Like some of these guys, whether they go JUCO or they're coming from, because you're seeing it so often now, like guys are coming from D3, NAIA, D2 to, they're moving up, whether D3 moves up to D2, NAIA moves up to D2 or D1. You're starting to see that a lot more where it's almost like a training ground like JUCO now.
Yeah, I think there's just more than one desirable path to get to the Division I level. So again, the portal caused most coaches to seek older talent. And so I'm all for guys once they've graduated to come play that last year out to see how that goes. Again, some guys have stellar years when they're younger at the Division II level. Maybe it's their sophomore, junior year, and then decide that they want to trend and try up to the next level and compete. So again, if they are willing to consider the option, I mean, we try to thoroughly evaluate everybody.
And so one of the bigger things is we talk about this a lot as well. It's the high school kids.
Mm-hmm.
And since COVID, it's been really tough on high school kids. What was kind of like the lay of the land pre-COVID, okay, COVID changed everything. And then now we got the portal, yes, COVID is the extra COVID year is pretty much gone now, but now we got more legislation where there may be a possible fifth year for kids now. And now we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months where now you can go JUCO and it may not even count against your eligibility for D1. It's going to be really tough for high school kids. I mean, we talk about it, when we get a chance to talk, and you better be special, very special.
I think the recruiting process has changed. I would say besides at a high major, I feel like a junior college coach because we have to recruit our own individual roster every single year, number one, to keep a certain caliber of guy around. Two, you're recruiting transfers. So some people are having to flip a roster with 4 or 5 guys on the low end. And then some guys are having to get 8, 9, 10 guys, if you will, on the high end. Yeah. And so it allows you to potentially go from not having a good year the previous year to all of a sudden, if you get the right guys and you can get them to gel and mesh, then you could have a special year really, really quick without having to wait 3, 4 years to do that. And I think that's huge. But what I think it has also done is leveled the playing field. So you have to really do a fantastic job of evaluating the type of guys that fit your culture and that you want to coach, because there's a lot of talent. And then just due to the summer basketball frenzy the last couple of years, these guys that have all played and traveled and went to the same camp. So it's not a lot of difference in some of the guys' talent from maybe a D2 guy to a low Division I guy. And then by the time that they become juniors and seniors in college, I think that the gap is really, really short.
Well, and you just touched something right there, because what we're seeing is when you say the playing field is leveled off, a lot of times we see it's leveled off because a lot of teams, mid-major or low major, prefer to go older and more experienced. So, as we say, like the years of those where you had the Fab Five, where you had 5 freshmen go to the Final Four championship, it's really hard now because you're going against 23, 24, 25-year-olds, and it's a different ball game. Those are grown men now. And so, the physicality of college basketball, the experience, as you say, it's leveled it out now. So, like you said, you have to do a really good job of when you get that diaper dandy, as they say, it's almost impossible to have 5 of them now on the court at the same time. It's almost impossible.
I agree. And I just think winning is the ultimate goal for everybody. Some kids are going to outgrow and outperform certain situations. And again, those super freshmen, they come in, they have a fantastic freshman year, and they can move on to the NBA.
Yeah.
Some of the days of just building a team how they were once done, and you're projecting 2, 3, 4 years down the road, has just changed. Yeah. And so we're forced to adapt to today's climate of what's going on.
But to your point of what you said, like, even if they're not one and done per se, now it's really hard to keep. Okay, so let's say you got your one and done guy, the diaper dandy. Well, the other guy's just as good, but he's coming back because he's trying to get drafted next year. But now he has SEC, Big Ten, ACC schools on him. So, like you said, you got to re-recruit him before you can even get out and evaluate now. So, like you said, the times are so different. From the time this season is over, you're doing your exit meetings and you're trying to get an understanding of who's going in the portal or not to understand how many scholarships do you even have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. So that makes it a little tougher. And then
Yeah.
we just had the ruling that going forward, you will only be allotted a maximum of 15 slots per team. And that's including walk-ons.
Yeah.
So now each individual program and university's got to figure out how they want to run that for men's basketball. And
Yeah.
so you may take 12 or 13 scholarships and 2 walk-ons. It may be all 15 scholarships. So some of it is going to be a financial question. And then some of it is just going to really just be about the coach's visions of how many guys can you potentially keep happy? How many guys, there may be some guys willing to come sit for a year and develop and see your 4-year plan kind of like it used to be in the older days. And it's going to be X number of guys that want to come in and play now and look to springboard somewhere else. So coaches have quite the challenge in terms of putting together their type of team.
Boy, you just touched something that's I've mentioned this to a couple of my other friends as well. Will there be like like you say, if you want to sit out and develop, so walk-ons per se, or maybe you're not a walk-on, and this is being creative. I like to say this because there's 15 scholarships, right? So outside of that, it's a done deal. But let's just say you come in on some academic money and you say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I'm gonna come in and develop, and I want to be a part of this, but I understand I got to sit out. Is it either going to be that, or I I'm asking you this because I'd love to hear the answer, or do you bring back JVs?
Well, we won't get to have a JV team at our level just because your bodies, the number of bodies we allotted are the number of bodies. At your smaller schools, let's say that if you're at a junior college, there will probably be a JV for the junior college. Some of your NAIA programs will probably carry a practice squad or JV team, however you want to kind of look at it, and those guys play that. So it'll look like a developmental farm system. So
Yes.
at the end of the day, your main program that everybody desires to get to will be considered the major leagues, and then there will be a feeder system that certain institutions will utilize to try to extract the best diamonds that they can to get to the big show.
We didn't touch on one thing that has become prevalent as well. These international players are getting better and better and better and better
Mm-hmm.
to the point where it's almost a part of any mid-major up that they're looking at players from Germany, Australia, a plethora of other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of South Alabama that you have to entertain that as well now?
Well, again, I think you have to look at all prospects. You have to figure out, are they currently in the United States, or is it something that they're looking to come over? Ideally, we would most it's easier to deal with them when they are in the United States already, because you can physically go see them, evaluate them regularly, and probably see them play against some US competition and kind of have a idea. But for those other kids that are in other countries, you're relying on another set of eyes. You're relying on a relationship or other people to kind of guide you through the process to ensure that you're getting it, whether that be an agent, whether that be, you know, countryman, club coach, professional coach over there. So, again, a lot of those international kids do desire to get an education here and get a chance to come try to perform and compete against the best collegiate opportunities that are out there.
Let me ask you this, and I like to ask this question because you know you're a no nonsense guy, and you're going to say what it is. as we start to get into this whole NIL landscape and all this other stuff, people have to understand that these are 1 year renewables, correct?
I would say most kids are probably that are receiving some type of NIL agreement. It would be a 1 year deal. I mean, of course, you always look at the eligibility. I feel
Mhm.
like there is maybe some projection of financial opportunities. There may be certain marketing opportunities, and I just think for both sides, you it should probably be a shorter term as opposed to a longer term,
Mhm.
because anything can happen within that extended period of time. So we as coaches would love to coach them for 4 or 5 years, but that's just not the overall landscape.
Yeah.
So each individual case has to be looked at. It's just that.
And I ask that because I want people to understand that if you're not living up to your end of the bargain, like, yeah, they're paying you this X amount of dollars, whatever, but if you're not who people thought you were, you can't have the expectation that sophomore year you're going to get the same thing. Like,
Well,
this is a job now.
I think that's the hard part for the players is this is their first opportunity, understanding that this is a performance based business,
Yes.
and now that you throw money into the mix, it just adds even more chaos and confusion, and it moves the goalposts. So I think you have to realistically sit down and try to hammer out some realistic goals, and all parties got to try to perform accordingly. I'll just say that.
And with that being said, man, the way the game is going right now, like you have some people like, yes, I understand, you know, the big argument was, kids need to be compensated, schools are making money, this, that. Yeah, I get all of that. But your opinion, like, it almost feels like this is a professional model now, almost. Like
Well,
you
it
said,
is.
yeah.
It has become that, and again, when you exchange services for money, that changes things significantly. I think before it was more trying to cater to student athletes and the education, and now because the financial hole that's being utilized at this time, it
Mhm.
is making it even more of a business structure. And so everybody has to operate accordingly. And this is a test run for everybody because, again, this is uncharted waters in college basketball.
Let's take a step away from that because I don't want to harp on NIL. Now let's talk about South Alabama and what you guys are doing in the Sun Belt. And what I feel is a lot of times the Sun Belt being underrated sometime. Like, it's a very good league. It's a physical league as well. And, with you guys being 12-5 right now, you guys are rolling, but we're in the early stages of conference play. So as we know, on any given night, anything can happen. I know the expectation is to get to the tournament, but what has it been for you guys to turn it around from last year to what you're doing now? Was it, you tell me, I don't want to ask that question. You tell me, what has it been to the South Alabama to make that big turnaround and be like, oh man, they looking good?
Um, Again, I think we got some new guys. I think this group is a little closer than last year's group. I think guys are really hungry to win and to
Culture?
prove. I, I feel like a lot of we had some things in place previously. Coach Riley has never had a losing season since he's been here. This is year 7 for him. So I think the expectation is to come in and win. And now we're just navigating the new issues of college basketball. Before, when he got here, he had the job pre-COVID, and then
Yeah.
he gets hit with COVID, and the season gets shut down. So I think he had a group that he thought that would make it to the NCAA tournament. And then 2 years ago, we get one possession away from going to the NCAA tournament, losing in the conference title game to Louisiana Lafayette. So that was a heartbreaker for us. And then we came back last year thinking that hopefully we could ride some of that momentum and redo it. But it's just so hard to win year in and year out. We had some injuries last year. And the big thing is we had some guys that needed to grow up and needed to get some valuable game experience. And so last year we had some guys that struggled with carrying the torch. And then this year's group, they come in, all the challenges that we've kind of laid out in front of them, they've met that challenge. So again, they've bonded a little quicker. And again, these guys like winning, and they're doing everything that we ask them to do. So hopefully we can continue the great season that we're having so far. And I tell them every day we're raising the standard for them to meet the desired expectation.
Let me ask this, and always out of curiosity, in the past couple of years, has Coach Riley had guys that have went on to play professionally overseas?
Yeah, we've had probably about the last 2 years, I think it's been 6.
Oh, okay.
So we've been able to turn out a nice group of guys that have met the criteria for what they're looking for. So Isaiah Moore, Kevin Samuel, Owen White turned down the opportunity to play. Turbo Jones is playing overseas. Sam Tabe is playing overseas. Before that group, JJ Chandler. I know we had a kid, Kyo. Again, 3 or 4 a year are getting an opportunity to come in and chase their dreams and make money. So we're thankful to coach those caliber of guys. And they come in, they've helped us win, and then they've been able to go chase their personal dreams.
Let me ask this. We see each other out all summer, right? And I ask this not for myself. I ask for the parents that are listening, for the prospects that are listening. What is it that will stand out to you when you're going to these circuit events, these high school live period events, these JUCO events? What is it that stands out that you're looking for to say that's a South Alabama player right there?
I think that's pretty easy. One, looking for a guy that plays hard on both ends of the floor. Looking for guys that can be a good teammate. Most people don't understand in recruiting, you're a piece to a puzzle. So I know we're in a generation that everybody loves to score. Well, not everybody's going to get a chance to be the leading scorer. So we need guys that have high IQ, most importantly, that are good character people, and guys that want to be at South Alabama. So I think if we can wrap that up into a combination, that would be what I would tell you what we look for. A good human being first and foremost. We want guys that want to get to a degree. We want guys that are talented. Of course, that's just a prerequisite. We look for high IQ, skilled guys that enjoy and value winning, and guys that are just good people. So at this circuit, I want to see how you interact with your teammates. I want to see, are you coachable? I want to see how hard do you compete and leave it on the floor. Nights when I come watch you play. Are you part of a winning program and winning tradition? And it doesn't mean you have to win every single game, but again, winning matters.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I ask that because I get asked that so much sometimes from parents, what can we do to get to be seen more? What can we do? And then a lot of times it's always the same thing. Like you just said, they feel like, oh, he got to put up 20 or 25 to be seen.
No,
that's not.
I can tell you a lot of times I go to games and just seeing kids play the right way, make the next fast, sprint down the floor, be a good teammate, communicate. Just what do you do? What do you do to impact the game and impact winning? I watch your body language when you're not in the game. Are you up, standing up, cheering for other teammates? Are you pouting? Are you sitting at the front of the bench versus the back of the bench? When coach gives you his instructions, are you paying attention? Are you looking at them? Just so many different things to scratch you off the list versus to keep you on the list. Like, I know you're not going to make every single shot, but again, whatever your best trait is that you have, I look to see that you could do that at a high level and that we could find value in that.
I like that. I like that. Man, let me ask this as we're winding down as well. I like to ask everybody this. Why South Alabama? If I'm a recruit and I got a couple schools looking at me, why South Alabama over the rest of these schools?
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding that, one, you get a degree. Two, you get challenged and coached hard every single day. We're going to be able to add some things to your bag, as the young players say, and to your game that'll make you successful. I think we do a great job of molding men and teaching you how to be a professional person. And then if you're talent and you perform to your level of ability, you're going to get professional opportunities to go right away. So again, I take our program against anybody in the country. So we do a great job of developing guys. We give guys opportunities that they didn't originally have. So again, the one thing we want you guys to do in terms of paying us back is just give us your heart, dedication, and just compete and leave it on the floor every single day that we have the opportunity to coach you.
Hey man, I like that. I like that. And going forward, would you have any suggestion for kids that, let me take a step back as I ask this, because this is almost a two-prong, because it could be asked in two different ways. For these high school guys, if you have opportunity early, would you recommend that you need to be off the board before January 1st?
I think it depends on the kid. We spoke earlier about a fit, but I would say if you have certain choices early and there are certain staffs that are committed to recruiting you, then I would be trying to take my visits. I would be trying to get wrapped up while I'm still considered a priority. And I mean, the days of collecting 100 offers, certain guys in the country will do that, but ultimately you can still only go to one school. So again, I would just tell the kids and the parents to kind of have a criteria of what they're looking for, tell them to do their research on the respective programs that are contacting them. And when you find if you find something that feels like home, pull the trigger and get out the board and be ready to go, as opposed to doing it, because not every single offer as time lapse will be a committable offer.
Boy, you just hit something right there. And a lot of people don't understand, like, some of these offers have time limits on them.
True.
So, especially with you being that high school kid, and I asked that question because you understand, by the time, once you get after January 1st and once you get into February or March, you are, like you just said, you guys have shifted to those JUCO guys. You guys have shifted to, now it's portal time. So if you haven't committed by then, there's a good possibility you may be out there in June or July.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants that. You don't know where you're going in June or July.
Well, I think that recruiting happens in everybody's time in correct season, number one. So the early bloomers, they're going to get options, take your visits, make your decisions. Those other guys that are late bloomers, I think they just got to continue to put in their work respectively and try to find programs and trust a coach who is honest about trying to develop you and giving you an opportunity. So with the trend that we spoke about previously about kids transferring up, go somewhere where you can get all the, not bells and whistles, but get all the substance. Go somewhere where there is a good strength and conditioning program, somebody that can can develop you a good player development guy there, somebody that has a staff in place and somebody that is committed to trying to play you and develop you as a whole human being. Try it out for a year, bet on yourself, play, and then outperform that situation. And then you may be afforded additional opportunities. If you don't, in that first year, it's not the end of the world. You just continue to put your head down, you continue to grind and work, and then hopefully you become a better player. And then when the time is right, if somebody sees additional value in you, you'll be afforded those additional opportunities.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more because, to the point of what you're saying, some of these top D2 conferences in the country, a lot of those guys are going D1 almost automatically when the season's over. If they're all conference in some of these conferences like the PSAC, the Peach Belt, the RMAC, or California, the California D2 conference, or the Northeast 10, like those guys are getting opportunities at D1s.
Yeah, I think everybody's watching and checking now. So that has become one of the newer trends. So again, I just encourage those guys to handle their business. But I think one of the guys that has the biggest upside are those grad transfers.
Yes.
So again, those students that go play a couple years and graduate, they become even more valuable in the grand scheme of things. So
yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think grad transfers is going to be the lay of the land for years to come because they bring so much to the table. They're serious about their academics. They took care of that business. They're older. They're experienced. They pretty much have a good grasp of the game. So those are the type of kids, like you said, that are fits for 95 to 99% of programs, those grad transfers, because they're bringing something. And like you said, when we spoke about Barry Dunning, they've played through their mistakes at school A. So they're coming to you now and they've worked all that out and they're prime time players now.
Well, they're impactful. That's the one word that I would use. That's what every staff is looking for, guys that can come in day one and impact. Not that we don't mind teaching and developing, but we need guys that are ready to go when they step on campus.
Absolutely.
To affect winning.
You nailed that right on the head. I may need to clip that and repost that because so many people need to hear some of this stuff. And yeah, they could hear it from me, but when they hear it from coaches and it's being repeated, like when we're talking fit, when we're talking development, when we're talking about taking care of business, when we're talking about you're not going to score 25, 30 points. Not everybody, let me say that. And even that, like there's a stat, somebody had posted the stat. The number of guys that average 20 to 25 points at the D1 level is very low.
Very.
Very low. Like people don't understand that. Like you have to be a system guy. And boy, you feel like when you say a system guy, people just feel like that is a curse word because they don't understand. Like at any given day, that system guy, depending on the program, depending on the offense as well, he can get 10, 15 points because that defense may be giving him what his strength is.
True.
So people need to understand that. But no, everybody, you're not going to be a Kevin Durant or a James Harden. No, you're not going to be that. There are very few of them out there like that, number one.
Yeah, those are generational guys.
Exactly. But people don't understand that. It's my thinking, not my thinking, but it's their thinking that I need to be this guy when you're nowhere near that guy. And now you're hurting your own self because you're trying to emulate something that, like you said, it's a generational or a once every 10 or 15 years guy. Come on, what we doing? Now you're playing the wrong way. And hence, you said that yourself. If you're playing the wrong way, that will get you written off. So there we go. Hey, I hope you guys have been listening. And, hey, if we can drop a little knowledge here and there, we can. Brother, I appreciate you coming on. And, when's your next game? For people that I like to ask that because one of the things people understand, there's no reason why you can't see a South Alabama game or a mid-major game, because we're in the world of streaming now. And you guys, the Sunbelt Network has their own little network, right, for
Well,
streaming,
we
right?
play. Majority of the schools will play on ESPN Plus.
There,
So
there you go.
ESPN Plus covers almost everybody in the country at the Division I level in some
Exactly.
shape, form, or fashion. But our next game will be Wednesday. We'll play at home against Southern Miss. Should be a 7 o'clock tip, and then this Saturday we will play Troy. So we've got a nice week ahead of us this week.
Hey man, I wish you the best, man. You of all people know, like you not only you family, you barbecue family here on this show, man. You already know what it is. I mean, when we talk on a regular basis, and I appreciate you coming on and just dropping some of them nuggets that people need to hear, man. And best of luck. I'm gonna get down there to check you guys out. Yes, I saw you when you came to Atlanta, but I still haven't been to South. I haven't been on campus yet, so I got to get on the campus in South Alabama and check it out.
Well, come visit us, man. We appreciate the support as always, man. Looking forward to having you on campus, man. And thanks again for having me.
Anytime, brother. We'll talk soon, okay?
I got you. Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. That's my guy right there. Coach Bailey, very, very knowledgeable. A lot of times when we talk, we talk about players, but sometimes we bump heads off of philosophy. And I want people to understand that's not a bad thing when you have a difference in philosophy, because everybody's philosophy is not the same. So, and it's a learning point for both of us. The way I say, I see this, and he'll say, no, I see it this way, and he'll explain it. And then I'll break it down. I'm like, well, your personnel doesn't say this, that, and the other. Or he'll say, well, we have to do this to compensate for something, something else. And I'll say, oh, okay, I get what you're saying now. But as they like to say, iron sharpens iron. And I just love talking to people like that on the men's or women's side, because understand there are some very knowledgeable women's coaches that I love to talk to as well. And I'm just the basketball head at the end of the day. That's going to do it for tonight. And I appreciate you guys, as usual, coming on. We're getting so close to episode 100. Next episode will be episode 99. These next 10 days, just pray for me. Every day I am somewhere between D1, D2, NAI, high school. So I'm not sure if I'll be on next week or not. I may try and come on for Martin Luther King Day, but that's not set in stone because there's a big high school tournament here in Atlanta. So I'm not sure if I'll be on, but I will be on soon and I will announce it. I want to thank you guys as usual for, staying with me during the season as this thing is starting to become really busy and it started to really take off for me. I appreciate the support as usual, and we'll keep doing this because we want to keep bringing knowledge to the game, and we want people to have an understanding of what the process is. And hey, if it affects one person, I feel like this is a win. So that's going to do it for tonight. You guys have a good night. I'm your host, David Jones. You have a good night. Take care.